Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Nirvana Speaks, or rather, this is actually the first one. Now, I was going to do the first one on Donald Trump. After all, that diatribe might still happen, but I decided to use this time, speak a little bit about something I love. But not as much anymore. Now, I've made a previous case on the home channel, Code Equestria, on how Destiny almost made me quit video games. Mainly why? Because of the marketing machine. Now, most gamers know about the marketing machine. They acknowledge the marketing machine. At worst, they fall privy to it. Now, let me just say this out front. I don't like trailers for video games in any way. I don't watch them. I don't watch gameplay trailers. I don't watch cinematic trailers outside of E3. I really don't give a damn. Why? Because to me, they're all false advertising. They're all snake oil. Every single one that you see, no matter what. Why? Because most video game trailers are done as game is in progress, or game is rapidly changing, or somewhat of the lurch. Now, granted, game trailers nowadays are becoming somewhat video diary-like in their execution, which is also a problem because video diaries, just ask the creative and heart of the No Man's Sky development team, can be a curse, especially when your games don't end up having a lot of the features you speak of in those diaries. It can be a crusher at most times. But most trailers are a crusher, and you want to know why? I don't blame developers for this, although it is their job. I blame marketing departments for over marketing crap. I blame publishers for thinking that over marketing your game is a smart idea. But most of all, like most things in the gamer base, I blame gamers. Yes, I'm going to say it outright. I don't like video game communities. I don't like gamers at all. I think most gamers are hypocrites, liars, and idiots. They lack any kind of research, any kind of standoffish to their own opinion. They hope for conformity. They hope for universal praise or defeat. Like-minded opinions. They're much in the form of uneducated kindergartners rather than anybody with any sort of education, barring a few YouTubers that I've seen, most notably Razor Fist, Total Biscuit, and Jim Sterling. Those are the only three reviewers I trust with any kind of a give and take. Outside of you are all liars, you are all manipulators, and you guys all believe in your own hype, but your education system makes me think you're in middle school rather than somebody who's taken legitimate journalism. Now, I've taken legitimate journalism classes, and I take this job, if you can even call it that, somewhat semi-seriously. To that end, whenever I've got a game that I'm reviewing, for instance, for Code Equestria, I often don't watch anything. I don't watch any trailers. I don't watch any video diaries. I don't do anything. Why? Because I largely believe in this sentence. A good game speaks for itself in the first 5 minutes. There's no amount of trailer footage or gameplay crap that you can show me that a controller can't do for me, or an experience with one. Yes, I am showing my age. After all, I'm 32, and I believe in a lot of the old school mechanics that made video games successful over the years. I believe that a good story, especially considering that most publishers like to think they're big name movie publishers, is absolutely important in this day and age. But I also believe that video games that are gameplay centric need to remain as such. Use Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 as an example, or Saints Row the Third, for an even better one. There are only two companies in this industry that can mix story and gameplay successfully on a consistent basis. There are a lot of companies that can do it, but not consistently. Those two companies being Rockstar, because of course they're gods. Just look at their financial and successful track record, and most of the studios at Ubisoft. Think Ubisoft Montreal, or the guys that do most of the Clancy games, like The Division. They usually stay hyper dedicated and focused to their games within the process of making it, but they also stay within the process when they're not making it. In other words, patches, DLC, and the like. They pay really close attention to their forums, and most of the time their games stay universally linked to the universal idea that they had at the beginning. You don't see very often rare changes at foot. But this also extends to the marketing. Yes, if you've noticed a lot of Ubisoft Watch Dogs 2 commercials out there, that's on purpose. But you see, Watch Dogs 1 had a similar marketing blitz, sold much better, mainly because the release date and the timing was more paramount, but because of those blasted gameplay and cinematic trailers, Watch Dogs was put on an elevated pedestal, and when the graphics were naturally downgraded to fit the consoles, many PCers, especially on PC, and many console gamers felt that they had been lied to, that they were given artificial hope, much like the people that made No Man's Sky. A lot of people believed that they were given artificial hope as well. That's the thing about gameplay trailers and the like. It builds up artificial hope, not factual hope. It doesn't build up any kind of truth. It just builds up hype. Yes, marketing divisions, their job is to make said hype. But I believe that there are two kinds of hype in the world. Hype that is made of truth, and hype that is made to manufacture. Example. I'll take, let's say, the recent trailers that I've seen for Power Rangers Ninja Steel, for instance. They look very interesting. The season has an interesting concept, and of course the costumes look nice, and the actors seem dedicated to play it. This creates in me a real sense of hype about what's moving forward for Power Rangers in the future. Now, take for example how people initially felt about Scalebound when it was first announced. There was a lot of hype. Once there was actual gameplay of it in this year's E3, the hype died down considerably. And there's also a case to be made that no hype at all can also kill a game. See Crackdown 3, for instance. We haven't seen that game in about a year and a half. So, how do we solve this problem of hype? Well, my solution to the problem is be more true. Show things as they're closer to done. Have more betas, especially in the early development process. And don't be afraid of this one word, transparency. The reason why the divisions and most importantly Rainbow Six Siege's numbers are going up and people are returning to those games is not only because of the good content that is being placed on both operators, game balance, and of course new content and new ways of content like the Division, but also within those development teams, the transparency that both games have had in those cases. There's a lot of undue mistrust in the world of video games, and a lot of it has to do with a lack of transparency, a pseudo distance between the developers, publishers, and the gamers themselves. Gamers don't trust developers and publishers because you don't know what's market spin, much like in the political system, and what is the truth about the game. Most publishers and developers don't trust gamers because of their fickle ADD nature and how game publishers can lose money on a dime given one statistical mistake. There is a clear crunch difference in both of these mediums, at least on the surface, but the solution is the same. If both sides were a lot more transparent, especially in the world of internet where leaks are not only present, but let's be honest, in the modern day, it's normal. A little bit of added transparency could most certainly help the argument and help the marketing division to better market. Just look at the Mighty Number 9 fiasco with its marketing, using buzzwords and trying to act hip when the game went through a total remodel to its animation style, and it didn't really initially connect among first visions of this new style initially. The game was marketed as a truly 3D successor to Mega Man instead of a big cartoon. Instead of the fact that it became a big cartoon, which threw a lot of people off, and even the remodels of the different looks didn't really look all that well. See, the game was marketed completely different around its animation style, but people didn't really buy into the marketing at all. It just didn't work. On top of that, the fact that it was a Kickstarter program through 2 years of delays, and once again, those delays being delivered non-transparently, also hurt the game universally. Now, I haven't done an official review of Mighty Number 9, and probably won't be able to. Just know that it's a 5 or a 4 in my record out of the 10 scale. And a lot of that is due to the many changes in not gameplay, but just aesthetic. And now that entire year of aesthetic switch hurt the gameplay in terms of its finer fundamentals. There's a lot of things working in Mighty Number 9, but it came out a little bit flat. Why? Because the game was overdeveloped, developed yet underdeveloped, and over-marketed and yet unperfected. This is becoming a common trend in video games, and it's starting to hurt not only my excitement for new games, but my enjoyment of said new games as well. Because expectation can be a pain in the neck, and in the case of video games, it's starting to choke the creative life and legacy out of them. Very few can last on a limited marketing budget, but very few more can last on a big marketing budget. But those that lie too can also be hurt extremely. Now, what you can find as a definition of a lie can be two totally separate things. But that's the problem. We don't even know what true or false advertising is. And that's mainly because we've been led to believe that there is no such thing as bad press when there clearly is, especially in the video game world. If you use the wrong buzz terms, you can be absolutely killed. If your cinematic trailer looks better than the actual game, you can be absolutely killed. And you can absolutely be killed by guys in my industry giving you a bad review just because they weren't feeling it or something didn't match up. You can also be killed for that. There's so many ways that a video game can't succeed that we look very rarely at what can make a video game succeed. I feel a little bit less pressure on the marketing departments, a little bit more pressure on fine-tuning gameplay and making the gameplay enjoyable. Can work with that. It's not to say that cinematic and video game gameplay trailers don't have their place in the world. They're just put too high on a priority list. Make your game good, and then when it comes time to present, then it's much easier for people to have faith in you. Having faith in you means money in the bank. If you put a little bit more effort in justifying the faith before presenting your wares out, you might be able to get a few more sales out of it. Heck, it's happened for movies all the time. A great movie backed by a great trailer often becomes a classic, while a great game backed by a great trailer can also create the same effect. It's just too bad that oftentimes the best part of a video game, much like the best part of a movie, is the trailer, and that needs to change. I am Nirvana Sparkle, and it's just me speaking on stuff. If you like what you hear, there'll be more Nirvana Speaks videos in the future on this channel. And also, if you want to see my review work, make sure to visit Code Equestria, my other channel, where I talk about, well, just about everything, and ponies too. Until next time, everyone.